friends of the show can actually call in, ask questions, and do that. Also, we have you working on the Discord side of it. So much love to both CinderAscendant and Nekkra for all the work they do on the back side of that as well.
Well,
So,
we're really excited to be a part of that project with you for
thank
sure.
you.
But let's talk a little bit about Edelweiss as well. So, Edelweiss is the
Yes.
other beautiful part of this equation today. And she is no slouch herself. She's done
Mm-mm.
so much work in the Hearthstone scene recently. You guys saw her participating in WSOE, the Women's Invitational, and doing so well. And she's just had an incredible run so far for this season of Hearthstone. So, both of these women, really incredible players, and I can't wait to see what they bring to the table today.
Yes, Edelweiss is a legitimate land player as well as multi-legend. I think, in fact, she her last top 16 was at Oakland, I believe, HTT Oakland. So she is no slouch at all coming into this matchup. I'm really excited to see the decks that she's brought being played. So.
And let's talk about those. That's the perfect segue. So we get to talk a little bit about what these two ladies are bringing to this matchup today. We've got Edelweiss that's bringing the mid-range hunter, the Death Rattle Paladin, Quest Rogue, and Odd Quest Warrior. And on the flip side of that, Dragonrider is going to be battling it out with the Control Priest, the Death Rattle Hunter, the Even Shaman, and the Even Warlock. I don't think we know the bands quite yet, so we won't talk about that. But let's talk about a little bit about the strategy going into this type of format. So you guys are very familiar with Conquest, which is what all of the Hearthstone Championship Tour has been running this year. But we are doing Last Hero Standing. So why don't you tell a little bit of the viewers about how that one works?
Okay, so Last Hero Standing is the format where you have to win. When you win with a deck, you play with it again. If you lose with the deck, it's gone. You can't play with it again. So every time that you move on with this deck, you are one step closer to actually winning the match.
That's awesome. I really like that. I think that's very interesting and different than what we've seen so far. I know people are getting a little bit tired of the Conquest format, so it's exciting to see this come in and shake things up a little bit. So, is there a general strategy that you would utilize in Last Hero Standing to like pick the deck that you would kind of want to move forward with?
Yeah, what you want to do is you kind of want to look at your stats. Building charts helps in this format, especially. Conquest, when you would go in blind. You don't know what your opponent is queuing up. You just basically have to guess. So you make you a bad matchup on accident.
Mm-hmm.
That's where Last Hero Standing actually is a little bit more strategic. You can plan a little bit better because you know going in what your matches look like. You want to take in, some people want to take in if they have a possibility of sweeping, which means they're most likely to win out with that deck. Some people want to take that first. Other people will hold decks back just in case they have a really bad matchup so that they can in turn counter queue it and win with that deck. And some people will also play their worst deck first. So there's different strategies based on how you believe you can your decks will line up with theirs. So, and I just heard that we got our bans in, so let's take a look at those.
Yes. So we have gotten word that Dragonrider has banned Edelweiss's Warrior, so we will not see the Odd Quest Warrior in play, and vice versa. Edelweiss has banned Dragonrider's Death Rattle Hunter. Do you think those bans
Interesting.
make sense?
Yes, I mean, if you look at the statistics for the Death Rattle Hunter, it at the best for that, the statistics are lining up so that it's a much higher chance of sweeping out with that Death Rattle Hunter. So that seems like a very good ban there, as well as that Odd Quest Warrior. It's going to be a tough match for her to win out with. So.
So I guess the strategy here is ban the thing that you have the worst chance against, right?
Right. So you want to basically look at the statistics. If your deck has three losing percentages, you want to just get that deck, get it out of there, increase your chances of winning by getting rid of the highest percentage win rate deck
That makes a
against
lot of
your lane.
sense.
So
All right, so then going into this and knowing what Dragonrider and Edelweiss have left, what do you think the strategy is for both of them for maybe the first deck they'd want to go with?
well, if we're looking at this with the bans, see, the Even Warlock is probably going to be Donnie's Dragonrider's first choice, I would think. Doesn't have a high win rate. If she can squeeze out a win with it, she'll feel really good, and she can turn around and counter Q with maybe some stronger matchups, I believe. How about you, Nekkra? What do you think?
I think I agree with that one as well. I'm not as familiar with this format. I've really only played in Conquest, so I've got a little bit that I need to catch up on for Last Hero Standing, but I do like the even Warlock pick. I could definitely see her going, though, with maybe the Control Priest. And I only say that selfishly because I think Priest is really fun to cast. So it'd be really fun to get some Priest action in there as well. But on the side of Edelweiss, like what I think you maybe want to maybe go with the Quest Rogue if you're looking at something that you might want to be able to squeeze out a win with. Because the Quest Rogue looks pretty good. But so does yeah, I think the Quest Rogue looks pretty good there.
Yeah, I think Quest Rogue is a good shot, and I'm actually a huge fan of Quest Rogue, so really excited to see this matchup. They are heading into game, so let's see if we can't get over there and see what they've decided to queue up.
All right, I'm so excited. It's gonna be a shaman versus a hunter. So we've got, I guess, Dragonrider queuing up the even shaman, and then Edelweiss is going to battle against that with the hunter. Does this surprise you in any way?
I'm a little surprised that that Dragonrider decided to queue up the even shaman first. However, it is a very strong deck against the lineup, so it'll be interesting to see if she maybe plans on winning out with it.
That would be super exciting. So let's get into this game because I know that's what you guys are all here for and ready for. So first turn, it does look like you're going to see pretty standard turn coming out from Dragonrider, but she has a lot of options moving into turn 2. So if you're Dragonrider and you're looking at the cards that you have in your hand, what would you expect to play turn 2? Are you just going to answer what Edelweiss puts down on this first turn? Strategy, putting out the Primal Fin Totem and maybe trying to widen your board.
Yeah. Now remember, the deck lists are open, so she's gonna know exactly where. Oh my goodness, Edelweiss is starting. So a Primal Fin might not be a bad choice here, knowing that she can start to build some value. But we do see that she does go ahead and get Rush on those. So maybe throwing out like a Merrspark Eel or a Menacing Nimbus might not be a bad plan, just to kind of. And so controlling the board as even shaman is going to be very important as it.
I wonder.
Yeah, and Edelweiss has a lot of resources to utilize in these beginning turns. You've got that Dire Mole, and that 3 health can be a big problem for even Shaman to deal with when you get that on board.
Yes, it can be very tricky. And then following it up with a Crackling Razor Maw onto a 1/3 can just make that a pain in the tail to deal with.
Yeah, it really can. But we will see that Dragonrider is going to opt to try to widen the board and get that control back using the Primal Fin Totem. And that leaves Edelweiss with a couple of options here. You can use the Crackling Razor Maw to adapt one of your Spring Paws, maybe get that poison onto one of them, which could take out that Primal Fin Totem completely out of the action. You have the Candle Shot, which is an incredibly good card to have in the early matchup as well. So you expect to see the Candle Shot coming out, maybe one of those other 1-drops.
And there's that poison that we were talking about right there. What a pickup there. And I mean, she really had several really great options there. If it had been, +3 attack or anything like that had come up. So she had some good options to be able to clear this board. So it's back to Dragonrider. Dragonrider's got a few options here. Knowing that poisonous is out is a really big deal here. It limits the resources that she might want to put out.
Yeah, but that Mercspark Eel is looking pretty handy right now to deal with that poisonous Spring Paw. Maybe try to get that out of the way so you can get one step closer to putting down that Sea Giant early on.
It is definitely a tough spot for Dragonrider to be in, though, because that 3/2 Crackling Razor Maw is just a pain in the tail. It can clear out this Mercspark Eel, not leaving basically any resources besides that healing totem on the board. Okay, we see that she uses the tracking to find something in her deck, a resource to pull out.
What would you choose here in this situation?
Uh,
Knowing that your matchup is
What
even
to
shaman
do.
and what you might be facing.
You know, the wolf that just wasn't that great of a choice. She ended up going with Animal Companion, which I agree with completely. You know, having a 4/4 or a 2/4 on board here is a big deal. Even just being able to clear a 0/2 with the Huffer is with the 4/2 stats is just fantastic in this spot.
Yeah, I really do like that animal companion pickup. It just gives so many more options, and especially because of how wide Edelweiss's board is, you get a Leok and you're set. Your board looks pretty
What
just
to do?
daunting to deal with if you are Dragonrider. So
Yes.
Dragonrider, though, looking at a lot of different 2-drop resources in hand, do you agree with her hovering over that Flame Tongue totem?
You know, she has to start building a board here. The only way she's really going to be able to do that is to start clearing it out. The flame tongue in this spot might be a little rough though, because it can be easily cleared this turn. So she might want to look for maybe getting some resources out. So she grabs the menacing nimbus, which is an excellent card here. Now she's just asking herself, do I put out another minion, or do I look maybe to the Earthen Might onto the Menacing Nimbus to get a strong minion? And that looks like the way she's going to go. Also giving her not exactly what you want to see off of a Menacing Nimbus, but Firefly might just be a good pickup here, you know, for the resources that it can be. Oh, and she picks up a 4/2 Huffer.
That's such an incredible role from Animal Companion, especially in that situation where you have that massive 4/4 minion that you got from the Earth and Might buff. Just that Huffer takes it out immediately, and now you got to see Edelweiss getting in some chip damage with those dire moles, and that all adds up after a couple of turns. So Dragonrider really needs to figure out a way to deal with them. So what might be her best options that she has in hand to eliminate
Oh,
those minions?
it's a little bit tougher in this position because she actually has to be able to build the board, knowing that she has Rexar coming in 2 turns. So she's going to be keeping that in mind. Now, she doesn't obviously know that Rexar is in hand, but you have to always assume that Rexar is there. So she's looking to see what minions can I get out now that won't necessarily get mowed down by these moles and get destroyed by that Rexar. So she's trying to utilize her resources here. I agree with this play from her. Get these fireflies out now. Let them start doing some work when there's no easy way to clear them. Excellent. Yep. And here we go. This is what even Shaman does now. You know, starting to build a board, get that flame tongue out, and really start to turn this in her favor. Oh, but the unleash the hounds here. Ooh.
That's an unlucky thing. I feel like if you're Dragonrider in this situation, though, you can't play around those cards that you might be scared of Edelweiss having in the deck, right? Because if you play that way, you play scared, you don't, and you aren't able to develop a board like you need to with the even shaman deck, right?
Right, but
This
you want
just feels
to,
bad though.
yeah, you got to be careful with your resources as an even shaman. Until you have Hagatha on the board, it can be very limiting on that because there's no card draw in an even shaman deck. You know, there's really no card draw in a hunter deck for the most part either. You know, at least this type of hunter, but you know, we can see here you don't necessarily need that when you have Rexar in hand. Rexar is its own card draw.
That's very true. Being able to build a beast and get those new minions in hand, that's really powerful when you're able. So when you're starting to run out of resources like Edelweiss is, having only those 2 cards might be a little bit scary, but knowing that you can put down Rexar and start building up those beasts definitely helps a lot.
Yeah, now the only upside for the even shaman here is once that comes down, most of the time the hunter's only putting one thing down at a time, one minion down at a time, because they tend to be larger and you've already used your hero power mana as well. So we see that the fire elemental comes in hand. That can maybe help clear off some of this board for her, but she also has the ability to set down that sea giant for next to nothing. So we'll have to see which way she's going to go.
I think like one of the options that jumps out at me with her hand right now is you can use the fire elemental to at least get rid of one of those pesky dire moles that's been tunneling a bunch of problems. And that means that, you know, you might be able to clear out some of these other hounds too. Unfortunately, the trade-off there is you can't use the Sea Giant this turn, but clearing out those resources and maybe forcing Edelweiss to utilize some of the more expensive resources in hand means that the Sea Giant would be in a better position next turn to put down.
That is true, and we'll see Rexar come down here. Now, here is one of the new cards from Rusticon that's actually come into hand. It's going to be a big deal in this matchup,
Oh, yeah.
and it is the Master's Call. So this is the only form, pretty much, of card draw in this deck at all. And we'll probably see that come down this next turn.
I think so. And here, and just a little bit out of reach of being able to utilize that Sea Giant. It's almost as if Edelweiss knows that that's in hand, and she's playing around it so well, trying to get rid of those minions on board to make sure it stays out of the reach of Dragonrider to drop down. But that Bog Shaper looking really nice, and you got a couple of spells. You got that Hex that might be pretty useful, and start getting some card draw here.
I mean, this game is far from over for Dragonrider at all. That Bog Shaper's got a nice body. As you said, the Hex being in hand. She's got the Sea Giant, the Flame Tongue. There are lots of ways to, steer this back into her deck. And we can see there's not a whole lot of answers for larger minions right now for Edelweiss. Now, finding a Poisonous or finding a a large minion's not that hard with taunt or life or rush steal, life steal or rush. There we go. Which, speaking of which, we have a vicious scale hide here, which might come in handy later. What does she end up choosing though? She's going cheap, so she did go with the life steal rush with the vicious scale hide, dealing 1 damage to each hero.
That's going to be a lot of sustain there, but here we're going to be able to see that Master's Call, that new card in action, going to draw 3 beasts from the deck, that Life Drinker coming into hand to just provide extra sustain, and you're going to see that Crackle Maw get used early on here to try to get this Bog Shaper out. I think she was looking to re-roll that poison, but that taunt's looking pretty good too, because that means it's just less damage to the face.
Yes, and this is actually a decent pickup here for Dragonrider as well, having that Serenite down. That's going to make the Sea Giant cheaper and get some of that face damage away. So I wouldn't be surprised if we see her use that, but she does have several really good options left on the board as well.
I do like that. I like the Serenite Chain Gang. I think that would go down nicely. You can put the Flame Tongue Totem, make sure that some of these minions that are a little bit beefier on the health side will get cleared away when they have to smack into the Sarnites. We know that there's that Zombiest in hand that might be really influential here in clearing out some of those, but that Dire Maul has stayed on the board for almost the whole game, and it's done quite a bit of work. So we will see that Serenite Chain Gang go down, and who knows what we're going to see after that.
She does use her hero power. I think that's very smart, and now that she can, she's been holding onto that Flame Tongue. I wouldn't be surprised to see her hold it just a little bit longer, only putting it down when she knows she can put it to good use, and we do see that finally that Sea Giant come out. So look at this board state. It's so interesting how fast these things can turn. We know that Edelweiss has got so much in hand, but this is what even Shaman does. It finds and makes large boards that you can buff and move and manipulate. So this is getting very interesting on Dragonrider's side. We'll see what Edelweiss decides to use to help clear this big board down.
Do you agree with the flanking strike pickup from the tracking? You saw 2 of them, and I can't imagine that feels very good when you're looking at having to choose between 2 flanking strikes and the animal companion. But do you agree with the pickup of the flanking strike?
Most definitely. It is very smart on Edelweiss's part. She has plenty of resource with the hunter hero power, but being able to get around taunts and things like that to get to that Flame Tongue Totem is harder. So choosing that flanking strike felt really probably pretty good there, even though you don't want to see an animal companion go to the wayside. If you're going to lose something here, that was a good resource to dump.
I like that Edelweiss is going very cheap with the Build-A-Beasts as well. Is there a strategy behind why she might do that? Is it just to get more resources on board, or do you think those were just her best options when being that were put in front of her.
No, I think it's a very strategic and smart move on Edelweiss's part. She knows that Dragonrider's board is going to go wide. And so by being able to pick cheap minions and put them down and put multiple minions down at one time, she's going to keep up with that board as it moves. And she's just going to put more and more resources down that Dragonrider is going to have to deal with.
Yeah, and she has quite a bit of agency to be able to do that. I think what probably feels a little bad though is having to deal with the zombies that got put down that got adapted to have wind fury. I feel like that might be one of the most threatening things on Edelweiss's board right now, and you will see that hex come down, get a little bit of value from that bog shaper, and that is a nice top deck coming out from that bog shaper.
Yes, yeah, that Bog Shaper is quite the pickup for Dragonrider, especially as maybe some more spells come into hand, or if she can pick up Hagatha before that thing goes away. Hagatha would be huge here, just because she would keep stuff on board, and since Edelweiss is going small, she's able to do that. And look at this board again, and maybe, just maybe, this Dire Mole might leave for the first time during this game.
Yeah, I really like it buried here. That would be great to see. I think it's nice to be able to see that the tide of this game has shifted just a little bit. But that's what I love about the game of Hearthstone, is it can be very dynamic. And you called it when we were talking about it a couple of turns ago, that this game is far from over from either of these players. You see Edelweiss has a lot of agency, has a lot of resources that she'll be able to utilize in the next couple of turns. And those zombies are definitely paying off.
Yes, that's what Rexar does too. Rexar is just value, value, value. He'll build you card all day long. Sometimes what you need, sometimes what you don't. Oh, and look, Halazi comes into hand. That's big. Oh, and charge. Ooh,
that's huge.
That's a huge pickup. If Edelweiss starts to get low on resources, man, that just is so fantastic. And we see her use the Timberwolf here to buff her beast to be able to clear a little bit more. So this is a huge pickup. She's able to clear off that and get rid of that divine shield, and use the Funky Strike. Okay, I'm a little surprised to see her use that resource here, but that was 6 damage that could take out a lot of stuff. So,
yeah, I think that does make some sense.
And maybe here holding that Flame Tongue is going to be have been a good choice on Dragonrider's part, just because she's going to be able to see that Bog Shaper getting more. But being able to use your totems here to clear off minions if you'd like, there's just a lot that she can do. She can send 12 to face damage here. It looks like she's picking up that Direwolf. Let's see what she's going to do. Okay, I like it.
I like it too, actually. I like that buffed the air totem, because you can get rid of that Timberwolf for free. You have that healing totem that's going to be able to re-heal your minions after they do this damage. And the same thing with putting that Flame Tongue totem out on next to the healing totem. Look at that. Those were 2 free trades because that healing totem was on board.
That was a big turn on Dragonrider's part. It was an excellent play. She used her resources well, and we can see that it's going to be really hard to clear off this big of a board. But luckily, that Halazi turn was a big pickup, because now she's going to be able to get rid of the Flame Tongue. She's going to be able to clear off a giant here. There's a lot of stuff that Edelweiss can do to tear down this board.
This is awesome. Like, get ready for this, because this is going to be an incredible turn with all of those lynxes coming to hand that are going to have rush. You did use that hunter's mark on the sea giant, so that's going to be so quick to clear. You can do it with the candle shot that's still equipped, so holding on to that extra durability was really, really smart for Edelweiss. And you've got all of these big buffed minions like the Flame Tongue totem and the Timberwolf that are going to get completely nullified here from the board.
But we do see another Direwolf in hand, which is going to help clear out some of these little minions to be able to get them off of the board as well. These little lynxes, these little pretty kitties, if you will. I really love the artwork on these cards. So we're going to see another totem. Flame Tongue. that's actually pretty helpful. Being able to buff that to a 2/1 or a 3/1 is always very nice. Now, we can see that Hagatha is deciding to hang out in the bottom of the deck. It would be a really big pickup for Donnie here, for Dragonrider to be able to do this. So she's going to send 8 damage face. That's a big deal.
That is a big deal, but she knows. I feel like Dragonrider must know at this point that the amount of large damage that she has on the board might not stick around too much longer because of all of those lynxes with Rush that Edelweiss was able to grab from Halazi. So she knows that the clock is ticking for these things to stick around. You got to do the damage now while you can.
Yes. Yeah, it's going to be hard for her to clear out a giant 8/8 with these lynxes, but when you're and that's where Dragonrider's being very wise with her resources, because she's only putting one buff totem at a time. Oh, and I completely missed that had poison rush. That was huge for Edelweiss to get that 8/8 off the board. That was definitely making a big difference. So now she's going to go for the direwolf and then take out the 1/1 totem. And where is that Hagatha?
In the bottom half of this deck, we're already at 13 cards left in Dragonriders and 6 cards in Edelweisses. So they are coming down to the wire here.
Yes, yeah. This is definitely the spot where Hagatha makes a huge difference in the deck. And Dawn decided that she's going to go ahead and commit that Flame Tongue Totem here and going to lower Edelweiss down to 5. So what do you think about putting that Flame Tongue out now?
I think she needs to pressure. I think she realizes that with the open deck list, she knows Edelweiss is running out of resources to be able to deal with this board that is so wide. You've seen that Edelweiss has struggled to maintain control of the board. After that Star Knight Chain Gang came in, that really turned the tides into Dragonrider's favor. She really has control now. And I think in her mind, she's going, well, I already got Edelweiss down to 13. Let's push this a little bit more. Let's get that extra damage out there. Get her down to 5. This is really where, if I get any sort of anything with burst, get Hagatha, get any sort of minions, I might be able to take this. So let's see how far I can push Edelweiss with the resources that she has in hand to deal with this.
And we can see the zombies there that Edelweiss chose. She chose to go ahead with a large taunt, making an 8 mana 9/9. That's pretty big here. That's a big deal, especially when I believe we've seen both hexes, have we not?
We have seen one. I think I only remember one, but I also might not be paying as close attention as that I should be. But this is still a tough position for Edelweiss to be in, because she can't really deal with every piece of this board, and that's exactly why Dragonrider decided to push that extra damage, because the resources, the amount of mana that it would have taken to clear out the whole board just wasn't there, even if Edelweiss had all of those pieces.
That was an excellent call on Dragonrider's part to go ahead and push pressure onto Edelweiss, saying either you're going to have the answer for everything or the game is over. So she chose her moment very well. You could see that she had that Flame Tongue Totem, at least one of them, in hand since turn 3 or 4 of the game. Right. So she was really conscientious of when is my best moment to put this down, and she did an excellent job there. Edelweiss, had lots of resources and played really well with that side of the game too. It's just that even Shaman with that 1 mana hero power and those buff spells, I mean, you just cannot beat that sometimes.
For sure. That's just the power of the even shaman. And we'll get to see more of that because we are playing last hero standing, which means that even shaman is what Dragonrider is locked into for the moment. And Edelweiss must retire that mid-range hunter. So with that in mind, what do you think Edelweiss moves to next? Is it going to be the Death Rattle Paladin, or are we going to see that notorious Quest Rogue?
Oh, Quest Rogue, if only. I think Edelweiss has got to think, which deck do I have the best chance with? And so she's going to be looking at her stats thinking, okay, how is the rest of the game going to line out? If I bring this deck, will I be able to counter once I win or lose? So she's going to be looking at that. Quest Rogue, can kind of struggle in the early game to be able to get rid of that. If you don't get your vanishes, it's hard to get that back onto board. And we just know that even Shaman just keeps building boards and building boards and building boards. And so it's going to be interesting to see which way she ends up actually choosing to go. But
we're not going to see that Quest Rogue. We're going to see the Death Rattle Paladin. So talk to me about that matchup.
So if I'm looking at the stats right, I think that even Shaman is highly, highly favored in this matchup. So she decided to, which is, look at that pretty golden card. Sorry, but the Quest Rogue is probably her best matchup in both instances. So if she loses here, she's probably wanting to hold that Quest Rogue back to be able to counter Dragonrider's other decks. So I like this choice on Edelweiss's part. Although statistically it's not a great matchup on Edelweiss. So even Shaman does some work, I guess we'll say.
I think you might be right about that one. And look at the amount of work that Dragonrider is going to be able to do so early on in this game. You've got all of the 2-drop resources that you're really looking for, and that Corpse Taker right off the top. You're looking at a pretty strong beginning curve here. Do you think Edelweiss, what she has in hand right now, is going to be able to deal with that strong early game coming out from Dragonrider?
It's going to be a little tougher, having Consecration and having the Wild Pyromancer as well as the True Silver. I mean, you have resources to deal with some of these boards. The problem is those resources run out very quickly. So, if you're going to have something good in this deck, I think she started out with some of the better pieces to deal with the even Shaman.
I think you're right about that. And I love Shirvala. Shirvala might be one of my favorite cards that came out from Rastakhan's Rumble. So I love seeing that early on in hand. You're going to just get to see that card devalued and just one step at a time closer to being played. And I'd love that card.
It's a card, all right. It's not. I've been burned by that card a few times, so Shabal and I are not on speaking terms. But no, she's an excellent card. But we do see that Acidic Swamp Ooze come into hand for Dragonrider. This is going to be huge.
Absolutely.
Taking down that 4-1 weapon probably by the time it's actually used is going to be a big deal in this matchup. It also takes away 2 of its healing. It's just going to be a very good card for Dragonrider.
Yes, it really will be. I do like the board presence that Dragonrider has right now. I think she was just able to get such an early curve and early board control. I think that Edelweiss might be looking at coining out that Consecrate to try to mitigate all of that damage. She's looking at 7 damage on board right now if that all sticks.
Yes, and really, I mean, this board, you wouldn't think when you have 2 totems, a direwolf, and a menacing nimbus, you wouldn't think, oh, that's just terrible. But you're talking about 7 damage on board on what? We're on turn 3.
Yes.
That's insane. Without a very resource intensive way to clear this board. So she doesn't really want to use her equality consecrations and this early in the game, but I don't know that she necessarily has much of a choice. We do see she just decides to hero power pass, saving some of those resources maybe for a larger board.
I think that is pretty intelligent. I only think that because there are so many other minions that Dragonrider has access to in this even Shaman deck list that would get taken out of the fight so quickly with Consecrate that she might be exactly doing what you're saying. It was waiting. Let's see another Direwolf Alpha get put down. Let's see that Acidic Swamp Ooze come out or the Merc Spark Eel, and let me take care of those things right off of the bat. But we're going to see that Corpse Taker come out. And that Corpse Taker is such a pain in the butt for a paladin to deal with.
It is so true. Having a 3/3 Wind Fury with Divine Shield is just, it's just so frustrating. Your Consecration doesn't do anything. Your Quality doesn't do anything because that Divine Shield.
Yeah, and that Divine Shield is going to mean that that Corpse Taker is going to stick around and do some major damage here. You know, if you're Dragonrider, do you look at utilizing both the Direwolf Alpha and the Flametongue Totem to straddle this Corpse Taker and get it to go face for tons of damage?
I mean, getting 12 damage here is absolutely fantastic, but Dragonrider has to think that there are some other options in the deck for clearing here at turn 5. So she may hold back some of the resources, but we can see she is going to use Flame Tongue and her, oh my goodness, help me out with the card name.
The Earthen Might!
Earthen Might to make it a 7-5. Oh, and that's so hard for Edelweiss to clear. We do see she has coin in hand as well as Wild Pyromancer and Equality, so she is going to be able to clear, but for what? At 7 health is just, oh man.
Yeah, that is insane. I mean, you got the Equality there. You will save your Pyromancer by doing those cards in that specific order, so that's really intelligent from Edelweiss's part. Doing Equality first, putting down that Pyromancer, utilizing that coin, and then being able to get a dude on board. I know it feels a little bit bad to utilize your resources that way, but it will mean that she gets to stick around for another turn. But you're right. What does she do from this point to match the tempo and the pace that Dragonrider is setting with the Even Shaman?
When we do see she does have some heal in the deck this next turn, I mean, it's not a whole lot, but 2 points of damage can be pretty big. The problem we have is Dragonrider can really just build a board here. Merrspark, gets rid of that Wild Pyromancer. She can get down the Amalgam. I mean, it just makes a very menacing board when you're sitting at 7 health with no great way to clear.
Oh man, and that's going to be more minions on board for Dragonrider. And what do you answer with that? You have to use True Silver Champion here. You got to get back a little bit of health, but even so, you don't get you actually end up either net negative or you end up the same where you are if you decide to attack the Amalgam or the Merkspark Eel. So it really doesn't feel good. You're not healing yourself, which is really what Edelweiss needs to do at this point. But you can't clear everything, and this is going to be a very sticky situation. Dragonrider does have the Direwolf Alpha in hand. That will be a lot of damage on board if you aren't able to clear it. And a little surprise there with the Healing Totem. What do you think was going through Edelweiss's head when she decided to smack that Silverhand Recruit into the Healing Totem instead of doing that extra damage to face?
Maybe if Dragonrider was deciding to trade it in there, that's about the only thing I can come up with, so that way it wasn't a free trade into the 1/1 if she used the Direwolf. That's about the only thing I can come up with on that. We do see that Acidic Swamp Ooze that Dragonrider has been holding this whole time. And she's going to push 4 damage to face. We do know she has a second True Silver in hand, but it doesn't deal with this board. She's got to use a resource here to figure out what she's going to do to last another turn.
I think she has to use that second Pyromancer Equality set that we're seeing in hand, and great that we're able to see that from Edelweiss, because that will give her the ability to clear this board. I think she's calculating right now if she can clear it by only using the Equality, but you have to be concerned about those buff minions that we were talking about that exist in the Even Shaman deck, because it's possible that Dragonrider top decks another Flametongue Totem or top decks anything that would just provide enough damage that even if you were to get the Direwolf Alpha out of the way or anything like that, that might be the end of the game for you. That really might find the end.
And she decides that she's got to take her chances here, and we can actually see with Dawn's hand or Dragonrider's hand that she's actually kind of running. Oh no! Never mind. Scratch that completely. What a top deck for Dragonrider here. Doesn't even need the Wind Fury to win.
Wow, that is incredible top deck for Dragonrider. But again, Edelweiss had so many good plays with the Paladin deck. You can't be unhappy about the Hearthstone that you just watched,
No, and statistically that's a rough matchup. I think it's 25-75, and Edelweiss really hung in there and did the best she can. That deck is great because it deals with lots of large minions very, very easily. But when you've got even Shaman building board after board after board with these tiny little minions, it can be a real struggle to clear those early boards, and that's exactly what we saw. And why it's such a rough matchup. But we know that Edelweiss was probably strategically throwing that deck under the bus so that we could see this next one and see if she can't pull this out. It's going to definitely be a match where we see her use more of her resources to clear the board as opposed to using her resources to try to complete that quest. So
yeah.
And we do see some good stuff in hand here with the Vanish and Prep. It'll be interesting. The Fan of Knives. It'll be interesting to see what she ends up keeping, Nekkra.
I think it will be very interesting. So if you were Edelweiss and you were looking at this hand, what would you keep, Ron?
That Vanish Prep feels pretty good at this point. There's not a whole lot of one-cost minions that you're going to want to take out with that Fan, but having that card draw and the damage is nice. So I'd probably toss the Fan and maybe consider keeping that Prep Vanish because we know by turn 3 there can be 7-8 damage on the board. Oh my goodness. Dragonrider has literally got Menacing Nimbus and Merciful in all 3 games thus far. And that's huge. Those are huge pickups. Those are exactly the cards you want to pick up in almost any matchup for even Shaman.
It just gives you so much agency early on, and it really allows you to start snowballing the game very early. Those 2 drops in even Shaman, they're often, but sometimes you don't quite get the ones that you really want to see early on in the game, because that's just how Hearthstone works sometimes. But this is a really great start for Dragonrider, and I think that Edelweiss is in an excellent position as well because that Vanish, that's looking really strong.
And having that 1/2 weapon here is also very nice. She can take out a minion with that, and she's still got a lot of work that she can do. Oh, we see a second Vanish, exactly what Edelweiss needs to kind of fill Dawn's hand with these, little totems. So exactly what she wants to see, but Dawn's got a lot of resources here. She can build a board with that Merciful Ill and put out another totem, or she can Earthen Might. I mean, she's got choices with the Ice Walker is an interesting pickup, I would say. Not the best in even Shaman.
Not the best in even Shaman, but against a quest rogue or a rogue at all, that might be really good. It means that you completely devalue the hero power of the rogue. So I don't know.
Yeah, a 1/3 body is never anything to sniffle at in Hearthstone, which you wouldn't think, but it's very true. It has the sticking power, as we saw in the first game with that Direbolt that stayed almost the whole game.
For sure.
Oh, and Fire Plume is a nice pickup here to be able to, get rid of that 3/2 Elven Minstrel. She's got the Merciful Gale still in hand. If she wants to put down the Ice Walker, she's got a lot of resources. Go ahead and use that Fire Plume here and send the rest face.
Yeah, that's what you gotta do at this moment. I mean, I think the Fire Plume, even though it's a little bit more expensive and it does basically the same thing as the Mercspark Eel, I really do like her utilizing that over the Mercspark, just because it's a bigger body on board. It provides a little bit more threat to Edelweiss that she's going to have to deal with. But I do like the freeze onto the Menacing Nimbus. You definitely don't want another 4 damage hitting your face, and it just buys Edelweiss a little bit more time in order to try to figure out an answer to the board that Dragonrider is presenting.
Yes. She has so much going on in this hand, as well as Edelweiss has got a lot going on as well. Having that fire, oh my goodness, the glacial shard is a big deal. Being able to freeze minions over and over until you vanish them is going to help Edelweiss in this situation.
That really is. And that Flame Tongue Totem coming out means you're pushing even more damage. Now you can see that Mercspark coming out, and that damage is going to find its mark on face. So Dragonrider really looking to end this now, knowing that you are coming up on the turn of being able to use Vanish, but you can't use it yet. So this is a very sticky situation for Edelweiss right now. She's trying to do is just to get to a point where you might be able to deal with the board, but that preparation Vanish, I mean that might be what we see here. I think that's what you have to do. I think that's the only answer.
And I think that's why we see that come down. She's going to go ahead and use her Youthful Brewmaster here, maybe to take something off the board that can deal direct damage. She's trying to think now, what's the cheapest cost minions that can do that? So that's why she's trying to decide, I think, between the Flame Tongue and the Mirthar Field. They both do the same damage, but oh my goodness, the Fire Plume is just more expensive, so that's why she's, I think, using that one.
Yeah, you're absolutely right about that. Woo.
And now a handful here for Dragonrider, and we can see that she's using all these little small minions to get back on the board. She does burn the Gen Greymane, which, I mean, it stinks to burn a big body, but not the worst card in the deck to burn if you're going to burn one.
I agree with that. I actually kind of like that you might not necessarily... yeah, I feel like Gen Greymane isn't really something that gets a whole lot of value. Like, you think about this for Baku and Greymane, both of them really are only there to change your hero power, not necessarily to be a body that you utilize in the deck.
Yeah, and there are decks where it's nice when Gen comes out. When you have like an even lock and you can put out another big body, that's great. But in this case, it really is just for the hero power and just maybe a nice big body towards the end. Now, Edelweiss is in a pretty decent spot here to finish the quest. The question is going to end up being, is she going to be able to stay alive long enough to get something good down on the board? We haven't seen any of the stuff that we'd want to see, like Sonya or, oh my goodness, help me out. Sonya or the 2-drop 2/2. I don't know. We'll come back
Zola?
to that. Zola. Yeah, Zola. It's not a 2-drop. But anyway, we haven't seen any of those come out for here to be able to kind of create more minions or, be able to rush stuff in. But we do see she picked up a charge minion, which will be really nice here if she can, get some resources rolling with the quest.
Yeah. I mean, this is a phenomenal place for Edelweiss to be in at the moment. I mean, Dragonrider's pushing a lot of damage. You do see her opt to put that Fire Plume down, and then you put another minion down just to make sure you're not going to burn another card. This is still a menacing board, and you still have a Vanish in hand. You have the preparation, the Glacial Shard, going to make sure that that Fire Elemental stays out of the fight just a little bit longer, and that gives you a lot more time, that buys you more time. Shadow Step 2, you are going to finish this quest. What do you think of that?
I mean, finishing the quest at 6 health, it probably feels pretty crazy for Edelweiss, but we can see how important these vanishes really come in, and how Edelweiss has done such a great job knowing the exact moment when to use these. My first instinct was, look at that board, let's vanish it. But she said, no, let's complete the quest and, use our resources. We know where our life total is. We know that there's probably the only card in the deck that's going to kill us here is going to be the charging minion, the 3/6 Alcalier. Oh my goodness.
Yes.
And so we know that's the only thing. So she's either got to have it or we're going to go for this. And that's exactly what we see Edelweiss do. And I think you can't be scared. You got to go all in at this point. So she does an excellent job with that.
Yeah, and she's going to be able to send 16 damage to the face with everything that's on board, opting instead to do 12, utilizing that buffed Novice Engineer to take that healing totem out of the fight. That's really intelligent, especially knowing that Dragonrider did get a Flame Tongue totem vanished back into her hand that would buff it. So you got to be careful about leaving any extra damage on board if you are Edelweiss, because Dragonrider has all the resources right now to be able to do some burst damage to her face. And with 6 health, you have to be careful. You have to be thinking about this.
Yeah,
all
so
the
it
time.
was very smart. Can't leave anything to chance here. Literally, the only thing that will work is that Alclear to finish the game off. Obviously, Dragonrider didn't pick it up, otherwise it would have slammed down. So now Dragonrider is going through her resources. What's going to work best against this giant board of 4/4s? Because now Dragonrider, for the first time, is staring down lethal.
Yes, and that it must be so exciting for Edelweiss, knowing that she played this so well to the point that she did get the quest finished. She did get those 4/4 minions. Her patience really paid off. And this is what separates good Hearthstone players from great Hearthstone players. Both of these ladies doing a remarkable job of utilizing their resources and counting that damage and making sure they do what they can. But this will be very, very close to lethal.
I think that we actually might be staring lethal down because after she takes out the 5/3 with 2 of them, she'll be able to push
She can
12.
vanish.
Oh, yeah.
Too.
Yeah, I was gonna say she can vanish and then send that charge minion, but we do see she actually could use the weapon here, followed by the vanish, and then she actually had it other way. There we go.
Yep, it's gonna be all that damage. Oh, just
there we
it was
go.
already on board. We can count, I promise.
Yes, we can. That's part of casting. They ask you what's 2 + 2, and we said 5. So we're good. But that was well played indeed. That quest road can be so tricky, and just when you think you're about to lose with it, suddenly you win, and that's just how it goes. When you can take a 1/2 or a 1 mana 1/2 and turn it into a 4/4, there's not a lot of downsides to that.
It really isn't. I mean, this is an incredible series so far. Edelweiss really taking the ability to turn this around. So now Edelweiss is on the very last deck that she has, and this will be the very last hero that she has left to stand with. She's locked into that quest rogue for the rest of this, and now Dragonrider is looking at either using the Even Warlock or the Control Priest. So, what do you expect that Dragonrider is going to pull out of the hat for this one?
I hope the Control Priest, because I love me some dragons, but it doesn't have the best win rate against Quest Rogue. So I think that Dragonrider is probably going to pull out that even lock and want to try to lock this down. It's just a little bit more favored than the Control Priest. I think it's almost like a 60-40 in favor of the Quest Rogue over the Control Priest versus a almost 50-50 for the even lock Quest Rogue. So I'm excited to see. I'm not sure. What do you think she's going to pull out, Nekkra?
I think if I were her, I'd pull out the Even Warlock too. But we will be able to see that right now as we get back to the game. And I'm wrong. It's gonna be the priest. We will see that Control Priest, but we will see why Dragonrider is called Dragonrider and see those beautiful dragons come into play here.
I am a new recruit, Dragonrider. Let's see this girl.
So excited to see this matchup, and you're looking at a couple of things in Edelweiss's hand as well. So let's start in talking about what Edelweiss has in hand and what she might keep here.
Okay, so Edelweiss is again, she's going to think about the matchup. The priest is often very slow. It often sends stuff back into the deck. She does know that it's dragons, so she's going to want to probably go for card draw and return minions because she knows that if the Dustbreaker comes down, she'll lose her resources. So I think we're going to see card draw and something to return the minions. She's not as worried about vanishes or Fan of Knives or things like that as she would be in faster matchups. So
yeah, so I guess that's why we see her keeping the Youthful Broom. Oh, yeah, nope. So wasn't gonna keep the Youthful Brewmaster, but got it back anyway. Going to get the Novice Engineer and the Mimic Pod, which is exactly what you were talking about. Needing those draw resources in hand so she can start picking that up. And another Novice Engineer. You can't be happier if you're Edelweiss right now.
No, you really can't. You've got to have that card draw. And then the fact that she did get that Youthful Brewmaster gives her so much in resources. Along with that Mimic Pod means she's just going to be drawing cards and have them come out her ears because she's going to have so many. And that feels really good as a quest rogue. You just want to go through your deck as fast as you can, finding the resources you need to complete this quest, and you just want to go as fast as you can to get rid of this priest. as well.
Yeah. And now Edelweiss kind of thinking a little bit, was she going to coin out a novice engineer to start getting that card draw and maybe start working towards that quest? Because you do have two novice engineers in hand, you have a youthful brewmaster. The chances of drawing more of the returning of that novice engineer to your hand and just continuing that card draw engine definitely looked a little strong there. But is there a reason maybe why Edelweiss is waiting? To see what maybe Dragonrider puts down, or just to start that cycle.
I think that we will probably see the novice engineer this next turn on the 2-mana turn. Just making sure we get that quest out to get it started, and then this novice engineer. There's not a whole lot of stuff in Dragonrider's hand that's going to be able to even do anything with this novice engineer. So it's safe to put it down for this turn.
Yeah, I like that. And there isn't a whole lot that Dragonrider is really able to do right now. You can Shadow Vision again and maybe get something else from the deck, maybe get another Shadow Vision, who knows, and just start utilizing some of that mana. But there aren't really any big plays that she's capable of doing right now until next turn. And
Yes.
even then, the Scale Worm doesn't really feel great if you're not looking down a big, juicy target with it.
No, and honestly, Dragonrider's going to know there's probably not going to be anything on board except for maybe a youthful brewmaster. And even then, she's got to be sitting here looking at this Twilight Acolyte and wondering, like, is it worth holding on to? And she decides that it is. You're not going to probably get as much value out of a Twilight Acolyte as you would in any other matchup, because it's at most you're going to get 4 in how many turns? Or you're going to get 2, maybe 3 out of it. But she does decide to go ahead and just do her Shadow Visions and find another Mind Blast.
Oh, that's awesome. That's a card that you really want to see in hand when you're looking at the later parts of the game. So just being able to hold on to that, knowing that you're going to have potential 15 burst damage now instead of 10, that's got to feel pretty good.
Yeah, for sure. So we see that Edelweiss is going to go ahead and use that Mimic Pod. She picks up, oh my goodness, Glacial Shards. If there was ever a card that you want to get several of, it's nice having a freeze minion. Let's just put it that way.
Absolutely. Oh my goodness. And look at all these activated cards in Dragonrider's hand right now. You've got the Witch Doctor, the Scale Worms, the Twilight Acolytes, the Duskbreaker, Dragons. Oh my. This is awesome to see.
Yes. And actually the Scale Worm is actually going to get a lot of value here in just being able to clear off that 1/1. It doesn't sound like that, or the Novice Engineer. It doesn't sound like it would, but when a deck can just throw things out over and over and over again like that, it's actually a big deal being able to clear that off with that. So we do see that she's going to go ahead and complete the quest with the Glacial Shard, which is very smart on her part. When you have 3 in hand, you don't have to do much bouncing back to to do it, and it's very frustrating. So, and we see a second Twilight Acolyte come into hand. Dragonrider's got a ton of options here. To start building a board. She really does have to move quickly to try to get this down. So she does go with that Fire Tree. Oh, well.
What do you pick here?
Ooh. That's a great question, Nekkra. There's not a whole lot of great choices. You're not worried about heal, so Regenerate feels kind of like a dead card. You don't really want to put a small random minion into your from that Mind Vision into your hand. It's not going to do you much good. So maybe having a Mass Dispel to do that. Oh, she does decide that she is going to go with go with that Regenerate though.
Interesting. I guess I kind of wonder if that might be an interesting pickup to maybe save your Scale Worm, perhaps, or save another big minion on board that might lose their life to the Duskbreaker. Because I think the Dragonrider was looking at utilizing the Duskbreaker to try to clear off some of the board that Edelweiss is presenting. But it feels bad when you know you're going to lose your rest of your whole board to it, too. And you really don't want to let that happen. But Edelweiss doing a phenomenal job throwing out some of those knives, getting those 2 big threats off of the board, and gonna be able to start continuing to complete that quest because you're gonna freeze that Twilight Acolyte and really stop the momentum that Dragonrider is pushing here.
Yeah. Alex Straza is really not a great pickup here just yet. We got to get to that point, so maybe a little bit. There could have been a little bit better pickups, but Dragon Rider is going to use that Cabal Shadow Priest to steal the Fire Elemental, which she doesn't know that, well, unless she was very closely card counting, she doesn't know that she actually picked up an extra one of those. So that probably felt pretty good on Dragon Rider's part to be able to steal that at that point.
Oh yeah, absolutely. I mean, here she's still working wonders right now. The board state is still pretty excellent for Dragon Rider, but Edelweiss is moving steps closer to finishing out the caverns from below and really getting full exploration there. Another glacial shard. This is just, it's gotta feel scary knowing that Edelweiss has all of these glacial shards in her back pocket.
It's always one of the most frustrating things when a quest rogue uses that glacial shard to complete the quest, because you know 5 times your minions are going to get frozen, or your hero, or whatever, and it's so frustrating. So, but I think it's probably fairly apparent to Dragon Rider now that there is another glacial shard in hand, if she did not already know that.
Wow. So, and a shadow step on the top, that's going to be enough to finish it. Yeah. Wow, that's scary.
And with the prep in hand, there's lots of things that could be done this turn. She may choose to save it, but she can also, draw some cards. She's got a lot of options here. Charge minions, so she's going to use that prep. This deck is just so crazy. It can do so many crazy things, and then when it's not such an aggro meta, it does so much work. So much work.
Oh so my gosh, really does.
Bump that down to 2. She's going to... Ooh. No, playing with her emotions. Oh, there we go. Okay, she plays the Elven Minstrel there. She pulls out... Oh, and I love Ziliax in this deck. Getting a 4/4 with Divine Shield is just so fun. But we see that, Dragon Rider's got a lot of great options in hand to start working on stuff.
Yeah, that Scale Worm looking pretty good too, to just be able to clear out some of these larger threats now, because now Edelweiss's minions are in such a great place. The Duskbreaker gets completely devalued. You can't clear things off that were, that you could have before. You have your Crowd Roaster, which is going to be really excellent for dealing with some of these bigger minions as well. And of course, the Twilight Acolyte's able to steal that extra attack that got pumped onto the Elven Minstrel too. So you're still in a pretty good position. And now that you know all those glacial shards are gone, you know your minions are going to be a little bit stickier too.
Yes, yeah. The only unfortunate thing about the Crowd Roaster is that 7/4 stat line. It's such a strong card, being able to do 7 damage off the top, but here against Quest Rogue, it just feels so bad that it just dies so easily to a Flame Elemental, or a just about anything.
Yeah, just about anything in the deck.
But she's got some bigger stuff coming up with Alex Straza. We know that Shadow Reaper Anduin's lurking somewhere in the deck, that can start punching some damage face forward. We know if Dragon Rider's still sitting at 30. Alex Straza, 15 to face, some damage sitting on board. That Mind Blast, this game can turn on a knife easily.
It really can. And you're looking at just a back and forth of the tide of this game, sometimes in Dragon Rider's favor, sometimes in Edelweiss's favor. Yeah, but Edelweiss has a lot of ability to control this board now, actually. And I think that's something that's really interesting about the Quest Rogue, because you don't think of Quest Rogue as being a very control-oriented deck. But look at how much work she was able to do with the glacial shards and the vanishes, the scale hide with the rush, and all of these massive minions now. Dragon Rider needs to figure out a way to be able to make a board stick. But now that you're on turn 9 and you've been holding on to Alex Straza and looking at it, is this the point where you say, well, yeah, I know Edelweiss doesn't really have any ability, or has very limited ability to heal. Do I use it now? Do you agree with this play?
Well, had that not come into hand, I might have. Like,
Oh no.
she does have a ton of healing. That's the problem with the quest rogue is they have so many ways to heal. We'll see almost a full heal here.
Wow.
Being able to use that to be able to go all the way up. I don't disagree with that play. Dragon Rider's got to pretty much go all in because if she has no way to clear this next turn, had that Sonya not come into hand, it would have been a very tricky spot for Edelweiss to clear that out, knowing there could be both Mind Blast in hand, and we can see that. So that would have been a spot. But when the Sonya came into hand, that pretty much turned the tide of any board chance that she was going to have.
Wow. I mean, this is dire straits, I think, for Dragon Rider. That Shadow
Yeah.
Reaper Anduin isn't even going to do a whole lot here because there's no minion in this deck that's going to have 5 attack. So Shadow Reaper Anduin doesn't clear board. Your Duskbreaker doesn't clear the board because the minions that are on Edelweiss's control are not going to be able to get cleared by that either. So there's a little bit of trouble here. I mean, I think that Dragon Rider is doing the best that they can right now. That's such an intelligent play. At least stealing some of the damage off of the board and making it so that it's only going to be 8 damage going to the face. But you have the South Sea deckhand. You have the Ziliax. You have so many resources right now if you are Edelweiss to be able to deal with the pressure that Dragon Rider is trying to put out. Um, and even with the Alexstrasza, all of that damage that was dealt from the Alexstrasza is completely mitigated now. You had the double scale hide. You're going to have another scale hide to just get some of that life back. You have another lifesteal minion in your hand with the Ziliax, and this is a really sticky spot for Dragon Rider to be in. So it'll be interesting to see how she gets herself out of this one. But Edelweiss still taking her time here. I think that it's going to be I think it's good for her to still be taking this time, knowing that she is in the driver's seat. It can be a little exciting and you get a little carried away with it sometimes. But I think it is very intelligent to see her still calculating the amount of damage that she needs to put out and the potential damage that Dragon Rider has as well. What are you thinking, Cinder?
Oh, hi, Nekkra.
Hello.
So, hi, folks. Run had a little dog emergency, which I'm sure you heard. So, I'm gonna jump in from the control room. Like Edelweiss, once the quest is complete, it's so hard for the priest to come back here. And, Dragon Rider's, her outs become very, very limited because of exactly what you said, just the precise calculations that Edelweiss has shown so far as damage control and, being able to put her opponent on a clock. Edelweiss is kind of in the driver's seat here, and Dragon Rider is going to be trying to find some way to get out of this, but, outside of like a mass hysteria or something, there's not a lot of ways for the priest to clear these 4/4s.
Yeah, there really isn't. We were talking about that. The Shadow Reaper Anduin, the Duskbreaker, completely devalued from the completion of that quest. So even though you've got the Crowd Roaster in hand and you have the Regenerate to be able to heal yourself up a little bit, there's still not a whole lot that you're able to do. And I'm actually a little surprised to see the Shadow Reaper Anduin come out, because even though you do have the Void Form now to be able to deal some damage, you probably need the healing a little bit more.
Yeah, and it's kind of a unfortunate thing too, because it once upon a time, the caverns below actually made all your stuff 5/5, so Anduin was a perfect answer to the Quest Rogues board. But now the 4/4s mean that Priest has way more limited answers. So, but I mean, this is good recognition by Dragon Rider saying, okay, I have Mind Blasts. I need to be able to put some damage on board and try to get to a win condition. But Edelweiss at 30 life. I'm not sure Dragon Rider has any more time left here.
I don't think so. I think she was looking for a Hail Mary play with the Mind Blasts, maybe getting another one, being able to reset that Void Form. But there's too much healing, there's too many resources, and I think she is going to be staring down lethal in the next 2 turns. if
Yeah,
not next turn.
I think you're right. Yeah, it's so, like we said, it's so hard to recover from this once the quest is complete.
Yeah, there's just too many things. You see those charge minions in hand as well. The South Sea Deckhand, the Stone Tusk Boar. You've got the Youthful Brewmaster as well. So even if she was able to get a Hail Mary clear of the board, you still have to deal with those charge minions, and you're at 14 health. That's a scary place to be against a Quest Rogue with all of that charge and burst damage in hand.
Yeah, exactly. She's. I'm sure Dragonrider is counting how much charge that she's seen so far and trying to see how much, she's likely to take out of hands. And and if Dragonrider's making those calculations, she knows that there's a high likelihood that there's still quite a bit of charge damage left in the hand. But hey, that regenerate from the fire tree actually comes in handy here, and she's going to avoid lethal for at least a turn if nothing else comes from hand. But we see the boar
this
and
is definitely lethal.
Yeah, this is going to be it.
There's 2 charge minions in hand. That was just going to be just enough to be able to take this and then some. So that's going to be evening out the score. Oh, well, thank you, Cinder, so much for joining. We do have Runhesaid back with us. Hopefully your dog is A-okay. But that will be a defeat for Dragonrider here. And this is going to take it to the final match. That's so exciting.
Yes, final match. I am so sorry about that. Thank you for the moment there, guys. Yes, I just walked back in to see that. Oh my goodness, we're at 2-2. Quest Rogue doing work. Let's see how this ends up playing out with the final decks.
It's going to be a good one, folks. We will see the Even Warlock versus the Quest Rogue, and that will be the final one. So this is what it all comes down to. Are we going to see Dragonrider complete this with strong start that she had, or are we going to see Edelweiss take this in a reverse sweep? What are you thinking here with the last matchup that we have?
I think Dragonrider was holding back that even lock for some reason, so I'm interested to see what it was she was thinking on this. The even lock and the Quest Rogue being 50-50, it's going to depend on what she gets in hand. This is for the whole burrito, the whole enchilada, the whole dragon. I don't know. But I am just excited to see how this plays out. If we can see Mountain Giants in hand, no vanishes, this could be a really fast game for Evenlock. If we don't see it in the right order for Dragonrider, that quest can get completed quickly. She gets more glacial shards. Glacial shard can win you the game, especially if that's what you're doing on the quest. You get your glacial shards into your vanishes. Quest Rogue can just kill the game.
That's
why
very
it's been
true.
Nerfed, twice, 3 times, something like that.
It's been a couple of times. I mean, I remember the meta where that quest granted all of the minions in your deck 5/5, and even still, the 4/4 still feels way too strong. Like we've just seen that you complete the quest, you win the game. That's kind of how they always work, and I think a lot of people in chat are really excited for the meta to shift a little bit with the new year of Hearthstone. So I think us casters are right there with you. Seeing those Death Knights rotate and maybe those quests, it'll bring a new era to the game for sure.
I will miss the Death Knights though, Nekkra. I won't lie. I'm a huge Death Knight. There's not a single deck I wouldn't play without it, right? When they'll be gone. Although, the Warlock hero power being as OP as it's been this whole time, there's just so much that I will miss about it. I haven't even really got to explore Jaina that much, and Jaina is just such an awesome hero power.
It is. I wish Mage was a little bit stronger, but we aren't going to see Mage. It will be that even Warlock versus the Quest Rogue to finish off this matchup between these two incredible players. It all comes down to this, and let's talk about what they're looking at in hand so far.
Yeah, the acidic swamp ooze doesn't do a whole lot of work. Vulgar homunculus. I mean, I kind of almost wonder if Dragonrider's not going to full mull. Oh no, she decides to keep it. So she's thinking I'm going to put as much as I can on board as fast as I can to try to get rid of this quest. Is I think her thought process on this. A little surprised not to see a mull for those Mountain Giants.
Job done.
Yeah, I think that would have been good too, but I can understand Dragonrider's position of, woo, Edelweiss in the last couple of games got that quest completed so fast, I might need to push for a lot of early board control and try to just get some damage to the face. If you're waiting around for those mountain giants or if you're waiting around for those twilight drakes, that might be too late. You got to start pushing that damage early on, knowing what you're going up against. So I think that the
Yeah.
early mull for the acidic swamp ooze and the vulgar homunculus, really nice.
Yes, I like what she did, but we can see that the mountain giant does come in hand, which
That's
is
awesome.
great. So, and sitting with that coin, she's going to be able to just keep pushing that out. Maybe get out a turn early or two with that, or not turn early, but get a mountain giant in a few turns, which is going to be so hard for Edelweiss to clear if she didn't have Vanish in hand. And the other thing, very important piece to completing your quest or the quest rogue, that Sonya is in hand.
Ooh.
Um, with a rush minion and a charge minion. Like, there's not much better in Quest Rogue life than that combo.
Wow.
So,
Yeah, I think the win rate for getting Sonya Shadow Dancer in your hand early on in the game is something like 70%. It's almost the same as when you
phenomenal.
get Prince Keliseth in hand early on as a Zoo Warlock. It's astronomically huge. So I think we're gonna see this Shadow Dancer doing a lot of work here. But what do you do here if you're Edelweiss? Do you sack your South Sea deckhand just to try to clear this Vulgar Homunculus? Or do you wait? Do you wait and be patient and start getting those back next turn when you have that Shadow Dancer South Sea deckhand play?
I think that you're not as concerned about that Vulgar Homunculus. If it was a bigger minion, there might be some merit to this, but she's going to go ahead and clear. It's not a bad play at all here. I think she knows that there might be bigger minions to come, and she's just going to save her resources. Very smart, not hitting in. We don't want to get any closer to those 7/7s from the Hooked Reaver, so she knew not to bump in there. That's a pro plays by Edelweiss, if we will.
Yeah.
So Dawn sitting here with Dragonrider picks up the second mountain giant. That's a big pickup. It's a big pickup, and that ooze is definitely annoying.
Yeah.
No one wants to see their weapon destroyed. Come on now, Dragonrider.
Yeah, no, definitely don't want to see that. But that Fan of Knives, it's going to get a little bit of value there from being able to get that acidic swamp boost down to 1 health, and you can trade. But that top deck from that is going to be something phenomenal for Edelweiss. You used your South Sea deckhand as a resource to clear out the Vulgar Homunculus. You're going to get a second one, and you have the Shadow Dancer. So let's dance. I'm ready to see it.
There's so many dancing options too. I just love this metaphor and this card. It's fantastic. We can see that Dragonrider has got a really great answer to everything right now with these mountain giants in hand. A vanish can't happen until next turn, as well as there's no easy way to clear this. I mean, a Ziliax here isn't the end of the world, so that she's not taking this damage face, but there's nothing to be done easily with the mountain giant, and then using a vanish for just a mountain giant isn't going to feel all that great later on.
Yeah, I think you don't. I think the only option that you really have here is.
I don't know that I like any of these options.
Yeah,
I mean,
yeah, I said that and I was like, well, I didn't really have a way to finish
yeah.
that thought.
It was like end scene, because there really wasn't a great option. I mean, Ziliax would have saved her face, but to what end? I don't think she's wrong here at all in this. And this might not be it's not a terrible call at all, because she's actually getting it out. If Dragonrider uses that to clear it, it feels bad on Dragonrider's part, to use an 8/8 to clear a 1/3. But if she doesn't use it, we know it's gonna come right back in hand later. So it's not the end of the world for her. Or she's got 6 mana, she can get the Sonya down, everything like that. So
you do have an option here. So I like the Nomaferatu play. It does burn the Firefly, which is definitely not the thing you really want to see, but it is difficult to hit one of those higher value cards in the Quest Rogue deck with the Nomaferatu. The odds are just so low, but I
Yeah.
like the Spellstone here. I think that getting that Scale Hide out of the way is so important so that it doesn't get punished later. But you do see that Edelweiss has that South Sea deckhand in hand. So there are still ways for her to utilize the Shadow Dancer with the deckhand, and I think we're about to see that happen.
Yeah, that prep was a big pickup here, because she's going to be able to pretty much play these minions for free. Get to get rid of the Gnome Feratu with the weapon, or I'm sorry, with the second South Sea hand. Oh, she actually chooses not to use it. Interesting. So she
Wow.
gets to come back down. I won't lie, I'm a little surprised by this play, but it does complete her quest next turn. She is sacrificing that, but she is also it's asking the Sonya's acting as a soft taunt here because Dragonrider's got to get that off, but we do see the Hellfire in hand, so that might make a difference as well.
Yeah, I think you're going to see that Hellfire come out. If you're Dragonrider, you're not really worried too much about saving your face. You actually want to see yourself get down to 15 health so the Hooked Reaver can proc and get a little bit more value. But Edelweiss is still in a very good position. You have the South Sea deckhand. I like her choice there to smack it into the Mountain Giant in order to get it back in hand to be ensured that she will complete that quest. And once you put that down, you can play your quest. You can play the Crystal Core, you can buff it up to a 4/4, and you'll be able to deal with it. But interesting choice here. Actually going to use the Spellstone to get rid of it. Get rid of the weapon so that I guess you don't have the charge available unless you utilize their mana in order to get that charge back. But that's expensive.
It is. Also, she could be thinking about saving that Hellfire in case she doesn't. She chooses to build a larger board this hand instead of using the Crystal Core, which some people might choose to do. So maybe that's why the Hellfire was held out, or she could have been thinking maybe later on like a Hellfire Defile. Might be an option for clear for a large board as well. So I don't necessarily mind using the single targeted removal at all. So
yeah, I like it. I think that it was a little bit interesting, but I can understand at this point maybe wanting to go for the value of getting just the single target, like you said, over anything else. But now what do you do here? Do you go for finishing off the quest, or do you look at trying to stave off some of that damage to your face? Because you're in a pretty precarious position now if you're Edelweiss at 12 health.
Yeah, you're staring down lethal. However, she has some options here with the prep and the vanish. She's got the glacial shard. There's a couple of things she can do without taking as much damage to face. So I think she went the right way. She could have Ziliax there, prepped, and then vanished and brought it back in hand to be able to heal up. But I like this line that she ended up taking.
Yeah, I really do too. I mean, there's that glacial shard, amazing. I can't believe that was in hand. To be able to stave off some of this damage, but you're still in a sticky spot. I know we talked about the odds of being able to win this match for Edelweiss, knowing that Sonya Shadow Dancer came in so early. But look at all these massive minions that Dragonrider has that you see Edelweiss holding onto that vanish for. You've got a second Mountain Giant, you have the Twilight Drake, but the Spellbreaker pickup too, and also the Gen Greymane. There's so many big minions that you have to choose from.
I think the one there she sees it. Okay, so she will unfreeze the minion and go face. That was huge. That was a huge play on her part. I thought she missed it. I thought she was tapping looking for resources, but she did in fact see it. Leaving Edelweiss at 1 health. Oh my stars. That's all I can say. But she's not done yet. She's got some major ability to heal here. This isn't the end of the game by any stretch of the imagination.
Yes. I mean, you do have the Ziliax, and you have to play it, do you not? I mean, you're going to see that Crystal Core getting utilized with the preparation in order to make sure that that Zilliax is going to give you at least 4 health and be a taunt in the way. But, you know, do you put the Zilliax down? Do you shadow step it and try to use it? Like, again, like I know you can't, but you know you wish you could.
Yeah, I'm a little surprised to see Edelweiss go this line. I think there was 2 lines that she could have done. Playing that Zilliax twice and leaving it standing would have healed her back up for a potential 12.
Yeah.
But she decided to go this line. If there's any clear in the deck for this, you know, that would have probably been the line. But Edelweiss did see her use part of her, you know, ability to clear that, and so maybe that's why she decided to go with this line instead of the other. We know that Hellfire is in hand, but she has no other way of doing damage.
Dragonrider has all the resources though, and the
Mm-hmm.
state of Edelweiss's hand is very sparse. So
Mm-hmm.
we know that there isn't a whole lot that Edelweiss is going to be able to do except hope and pray that Dragonrider puts out a lot of resources so that she can just vanish them all away, vanish away her problems.
And the only time in life where that actually works. But this is we can see that Zola's not the best pickup here. She is going to have to go into that vanish, but this leaves a lot of problems for Edelweiss because big minions are in hand. Those mountain giants are going to come back very cheap.
Yeah.
You know, there's got to be other resources in hand as well, and Edelweiss has not a whole lot she can really do here. I do like putting that Zola out. You know, there's not a whole lot that's going to be able to get rid of this. If she had the ability to clear a 4/4, she would have already used it. So, you know, having that out there, being able to shadow step it back, hopefully will give her some more resources. But she really needs to see Sonya come out of this deck, or an Elven Minstrel, because she's out of resources.
Yeah, she is out of resources, and like you said, those mountain giants coming down cheap, cheap, cheap. You're gonna see both of them make a quick comeback here, and
Oh,
ooh,
wow.
that
Yes.
pickup!
That was huge. That was a huge pickup here.
Wow.
We're
If
going to see.
anything, that will keep her in the game at least for one more turn. But
Yes.
insane.
That was the only card I think that really could have saved Edelweiss here. And the reason being, she's going to be able to Zola that back into hand. Whatever comes in next turn, she's going to be able to not only play it 3 times, or not only once, not only twice, but 3 times. There we go.
Wow.
Insane. Billy Mays would be proud of me right now, right?
Insane. Yeah, that's true.
But oh, Dragonrider is just stuck in limbo now. What to do?
Can't
What to do?
The only thing that you can do with your board right now is widen it, and I almost want to go for the Sun Fury Protector here. If anything, you just want to ensure that your face can be saved from anything that's going to get death shadowed with that hero power coming out from the Valera the Hollow. But you can go wide and tall. You've got both Twilight
Mhm.
Drakes. They'd be pretty big. You can Sun Fury Protector something. Just make sure that you are very safe and build up those defenses.
That was
But
a good pickup there.
oh
Yeah,
yeah,
I agree. Tall minions are fine here. I think the only thing you want to keep in hand probably are your Hooked Reavers and your Spellbreakers. I don't think there's any other wrong choice. Spellbreaker, just in case she does pick up a Glacial Shard off the top and is able to do a lot of work with it. You know, or with the Hellfire, she's going to be able to do a lot of burst damage from hand. Okay, so that was actually, and then look at all the card draw. The only unfortunate side is it's just a little too late for all this card draw.
yeah.
That's not going to save her. She's not going to be able to clear anything. She needs a big pull off of this. And Elven's Menstrual is just not going to do it.
No.
Just not going to do it. So we're going to see exactly what happens in this matchup sometimes. Wow, what a game.
That is so good. Oh my gosh.
Both players played absolutely fantastic. They really played the way they should have, and it was just a matter of card draw in the end that Questro just ran out of it. It's that quest rogue is just built with card draw, card draw, card draw, but it was all hiding in the bottom of Edelweiss's deck, and that's exactly what Evenlock does. It rolls big minions out and just gets you down. And I think that Dragonrider made the right call. Put pressure early and do as much damage as you can, and it ran Edelweiss out of resources, and she was able to finish in that late game with big minions.
Yeah, that's what Hearthstone's about though. Sometimes you do get unlucky with the cards that you draw into your hand. So it just kind of came down to that at the very end. We were talking about the odds and how odds of winning are so important when you're looking at the last hero standing format. And apparently the odds just weren't in the right places, and we got to hand it to the evens.
Yeah, Evens really took it down today. Even Shaman did work, even Lock did work, and but that quest rogue, I mean, it was a pretty shining star in this instance. Like it did some serious comeback work.
Yeah, it really did. So you got to be pretty happy if you're Dragonrider. I know we were talking to her a little bit before the match, and she was so anxious and nervous to be playing against Edelweiss because, like we said before, Edelweiss is really a breakout player in the Hearthstone scene. She ended up
She
doing
is.
incredibly well at the WSOE Women's Invitational. We just saw her interview on Coin Concede a couple of weeks ago, and she's really making a name for herself in the Hearthstone scene. So if you're a Dragonrider, of course you're going to be a little nervous going against an all-star player like that, but she really was able to pull it out today. So she's got to feel good about that one. And honestly, both players just played in phenomenally
Yes.
well.
Edelweiss really, she took some bad matchups and she took some unfavors and turned those around and, played to her strengths and did a great job. Dragonrider just had the day. She had the card draw. She had, her brain was really in it. She was on it. All the choices that she made, I felt were excellent plays. So the day goes to Dragonrider, but who knows? Maybe we'll see these two back in the finals and maybe Edelweiss will get her revenge.
Yeah, that would be the day, right? And that'd be a really fun rematch to watch. But if you liked the Hearthstone that you saw from both of these players, please go follow them on their social medias. Dragonrider, you can find her at Donnie DK, and she also streams to Twitch, so you can see that at
Excellent
Dragonrider
streamer.
DK. And Edelweiss is on Twitter as well, so please go follow her at Swagoy Edelweiss. You guys will see these at the very end of the stream, so be sure to look out for that. But I think that's it for us at the desk. Thank
It
you so much
is.
to Badass
Thank
Women of
you
Hearthstone
guys.
for putting this on
Yes.
for us and allowing us to be here. And of course for Cinder for doing all of that work behind the scenes and making a guest appearance.
Thank you for that, Cinder. And thank you to everyone. Definitely want to say thank you to all of you again that made this tournament possible for us, all of you that donated, all of you that come out and hang out and chat and make this a positive place for women to grow. We appreciate you guys so, so much. Thank you, thank you, thank you.
Yeah, thank you so much, especially for everyone that was watching. This has been Nekkra and Runhesaid, and I think that's going to be a good night from us. So see you guys next time.
Catch you next time.